Imagine coming home to find your pristine lawn carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey by your nosy HOA president, who then calls the cops on you for daring to fight back, only for her empire of petty rules to collapse in a flood of literal toxic sludge. It started with a simple sign. But by the end, the whole neighborhood was choking on the irony of her downfall. In the sun-baked suburbs of Sunnyvale Estates, Florida, where every blade of grass seemed measured by a ruler and smiles had clenched teeth, lived Alex Rivera. Alex had moved there 2 years ago, seeking the American dream, a quiet house, a small garden, and zero drama. But Sunnyvale wasn't just any neighborhood, it was ruled by the iron fist of the Homeowners Association, led by none other than Margaret Marge Wilkins, the self-appointed guardian of community harmony. Marge was the type who quoted bylaws like scripture, her voice dripping with fake politeness while her eyes scanned for infractions. Alex, a software engineer who worked from home, had heard the whispers, rumors that he was antisocial because he skipped the mandatory block parties, or shady for planting wildflowers instead of approved sod. He ignored it all, smiling through gritted teeth. But inside, he noted every barbed comment, every sidelong glance. One sweltering afternoon, Alex decided enough was enough. His mailbox had been mysteriously relocated closer to the street by HOA workers, supposedly for uniformity, but it blocked his driveway turn. So, he hammered in a sturdy private property, no trespassing sign right at the edge of his lawn, marking what he knew from his deed was his land. The metallic clang echoed like a challenge. Neighbors peeked from curtains, but no one said a word until Marge's white SUV screeched to a halt. She stepped out, pearls clutching her neck like a noose, her face already flushing under perfectly coiffed hair. "Alex. Dear," she cooed. But her tone was pure venom wrapped in sugar. "What on earth is this eyesore?" Section 4.2 of our covenants clearly states all signage must be pre-approved by the board. It's for the greater good. You know, keeps property values up. Alex wiped sweat from his brow, keeping his voice even. "With respect, Marge, this is my property line. I checked the survey. Your uniformity moved my mailbox onto my grass without asking." She waved a hand dismissively, her rings glinting. "Oh, honey. The HOA maintains the easements. It's all in the fine print. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." But Alex just nodded, his eyes calm as a storm brewing offshore. He knew better than to argue yet, patience was his weapon. The real fireworks ignited the next morning when Alex woke to sirens wailing. Peering out, he saw a police cruiser idling in his driveway, blue lights pulsing like a bad disco. Marge stood triumphantly beside it, arms folded, her lips pursed in that smug "I've got you now" smirk. The officer, a burly guy named Sergeant Ramirez, climbed out slowly, adjusting his belt as if regretting the call already. "Morning, folks," he said, his voice gravelly from too many coffee runs. "Got a report of unauthorized construction and potential vandalism." Marge jumped in before Alex could speak. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. This resident is defying HOA regulations with that garish sign. It's disrupting our peaceful community aesthetic." She gestured dramatically, as if the sign were a graffiti tag instead of plain metal. Alex chuckled softly, pulling out his phone to show the property deed. "Officer, check this out. The sign's on my side of the line. But while you're here, maybe ask why the HOA installed that new community bulletin board 2 feet into my yard last week, without permission." Ramirez raised an eyebrow, glancing between them. Marge's face twitched. "That's absurd. The board voted on it for better communication." Everyone benefits. But Ramirez wasn't buying the act. He pulled out a tablet, punching in coordinates from the county app. Let's verify that line. Shall we? As he paced the lawn, Marge hovered like a helicopter parent, muttering, "Some people just can't appreciate structure. It's for safety." Really? Alex watched silently, noting how her voice cracked just a hair. After a few minutes, Ramirez stopped, staring at the screen. "Ma'am," he said, turning to Marge with a deadpan look. "You're currently standing on his property." "And that bulletin board?" "Yeah. It's trespassing." Marge's jaw dropped, her cheeks blooming crimson. "What? That's impossible." "Our maps show," Ramirez cut her off gently. "County trumps HOA. Ma'am. Always has." The irony hung thick in the air. Marge, the queen of rules, caught red-handed breaking the big one. Neighbors started gathering, sipping coffee from mugs, whispering. One guy in pajamas snickered. "Looks like the enforcer needs enforcing." Marge spun to Alex. "This is your fault. You're splitting hairs to tear us apart." Alex shrugged. "Or maybe you're just overreaching." But she wasn't done. She whipped out her phone. "I'll call the board right now. We'll fine you into oblivion." Tension simmered like Florida humidity as the days dragged on. Marge, fearing her pristine reputation cracking, ramped up the smear campaign. At the next HOA meeting in the community clubhouse, a sterile room smelling of cheap air freshener and desperation, she stood at the podium, voice quivering with feigned outrage. "Fellow residents, Alex Rivera is challenging the very fabric of our unity. That sign isn't just metal, it's a symbol of selfishness." The crowd murmured, some nodding robotically, others shifting uncomfortably. Alex sat in the back, silent. But he recorded every word on his phone. Whispers spread. "He's probably hiding something illegal in that yard." "Yeah. Why else fight over a few feet?" Alex felt the sting. But he bided his time, researching quietly at night. He discovered discrepancies in the HOA's financial reports, odd expenses for landscaping upgrades that never materialized. Meanwhile, Marge escalated. Workers showed up unannounced to inspect his fence, citing vague bylaws. One afternoon, as Alex watered his garden, Marge marched over with her clipboard army, 2 board members trailing like obedient puppies. "Alex, we've voted to extend the sidewalk for pedestrian safety," she announced triumphantly. "It'll just nip a corner of your lot, nothing major." Alex set down the hose, water pooling at his feet. "Safety? Or is this payback for the sign? Show me the permit." Marge's smile faltered. "The board approves it. That's permit enough." But Alex pulled up the county website on his phone. "Not according to zoning laws. You'd need my easement signature." She huffed. "Details. Details. Think of the children." One board member, a nervous guy named Ted, muttered. "Marge, maybe we should double-check." But she shot him a glare that could wilt flowers. "Ted, whose side are you on? Ours or the disruptors?" Alex smirked inwardly, seeing the cracks. That night, he noticed his Lakeview backyard pond turning murky, fish floating belly up. Coincidence, he whispered to himself. Scooping a sample. Tests from a local lab confirmed fertilizer runoff, traceable to the HOA's Community Green Initiative. Marge's next move? A petition circulated door-to-door, remove the divisive sign for harmony. Signed by her cronies. Of course. Alex overheard neighbors gossiping at the mailbox cluster. he's turning Sunnyvale into a war zone. But he stayed calm. Gathering emails, photos, and public records. Let them dig their grave, he thought. The powder keg exploded one humid evening when Alex spotted fresh trenches snaking from the HOA's park into his yard, pipes buried under cover of dusk. He grabbed a shovel and started digging, unearthing a PVC line spewing greenish water. "What the hell?" he muttered. Sirens wailed again. Marge had called the cops, claiming vandalism. Ramirez returned, looking wearier. "Back so soon?" he quipped. Marge pointed accusingly. "He's sabotaging our irrigation. Arrest him." But Alex held up a dripping pipe section. "Officer, this is on my land. Pumping crap into my pond. That's why my fish are dead." Ramirez inspected it, sniffing the residue. "Smells like chemicals." "Ma'am, got permits for this?" Marge stammered. "It's for the greater good, drought resistance." Enter Harold Finch, the HOA's slick lawyer, pulling up in a luxury sedan. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding. The HOA has historical easements." But Alex handed over his folder, certified surveys, water tests, and forged documents with his signature that looked nothing like his. Finch's confident grin faded as he scanned them. This easement form is questionable." Marge's voice rose. "Questionable? It's official. He must have forged it himself." The crowd swelled. Phones filming. Ramirez called county zoning. A truck arrived with Evan Mills, a no-nonsense inspector. "Let's map this out," Mills said, deploying stakes and lasers. As lines glowed red on the ground, the truth emerged: the pipes, a new sidewalk extension, even part of the park's gazebo encroached on Alex's property. Marge's face contorted in denial. "No. Our boundaries include," Mills interrupted. "Ma'am, your boundaries are fantasy. And this pipe? It's diverting runoff laced with banned pesticides." A bystander yelled. "That's why my dog's been sick." Marge whirled. "Lies. It's eco-friendly." In a panic, she grabbed a nearby spade and swung at the exposed pipe, screaming, "I'll fix this myself." The pipe burst, spraying her with foul water. She slipped, landing ass first in mud, her pearls muddied, face a mask of shock and rage. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Finch sighed. "Marge, you're making this worse." But the Real bomb dropped when Mills pried open a buried access hatch, a vault of rusted drums labeled Industrial Waste, Cypress Builders Incorporated. The air reeked of solvents. "Holy crap," Ramirez whistled. "This is EPA territory." By dawn, the neighborhood was a circus of hazmat suits, yellow tape, and news vans. Tests confirmed contamination, benzene leaching into the groundwater, courtesy of Marge's upgrades that had old toxic dumps from the developers. Investigators raided the HOA office, uncovering embezzled funds, $150,000-4 projects that lined Marge's pockets and her brother-in-law's shell company. Forged signatures on every bordering deed. Marge, mud-caked and defeated, was cuffed as she ranted. "I did it for the community. You ingrates." Her husband, lurking in the shadows, shook his head. "You did it for control." Marge. The HOA dissolved amid lawsuits. Alex's pond was cleaned, his land restored. Neighbors apologized, sharing stories of her tyranny. Alex stood by his sign, now a neighborhood legend, feeling the sweet rush of vindication. But as the sun set over the cleared lake, he wondered, in a world of petty power plays, who really poisons the well? Was Alex the hero for standing his ground? Or did he escalate a simple spat into chaos, proving that sometimes fighting fire with facts just reveals the inferno beneath?